get in on a wavelength.
Once I was at a New Age convention in Moscow. What do they call in Russia for New Age? Nova Mir or something. Or what is it? New Era. Right, for New Age. Anyway, we're having this festival. And really, Avadut Maharaj is controlling everything, but he's acting like he's neutral. But I always get the best time on the stage, extra time and everything. But we have a question and answers booth, right? Me and Murali's for it. So I'm sitting there, you know, and it's like spiritual question, and nobody's asking any questions. So I said, change the sign to not say like spiritual questions, just any questions. I'll answer any question. So he changes the sign, and one lady and her husband, they come, they go, you know, we have a place in St. Petersburg and another place in Moscow, and we're wondering, should we stay in St. Petersburg or should we move to Moscow? And then I thought, like, okay. And then I explained to them what they should do, and they were very happy. They thought, this guy knows. But that was their question. Should we stay where we are or move?
Yeah, we had a program at a yoga society. There were different questions. They could ask any questions. So then one lady said, she said, well, I'm new here, but I want to teach yoga. And, you know, but I'm just starting, so what do you recommend I should do? And I said, well, if you want to teach yoga, the first thing you should do is become a yogi. And then she said, well, what's a yogi? And I explained what the meaning of yoga. Yoga means to make a connection. Yoga means connection with the Supreme. And I said, you know, so, and that I explained something about being a yogi. And then she said, but none of the people here are yogis. And I said, but then I pointed to the girls who came with us, and I said, but they're yogis.
Yoginis, yeah.
Yeah, they're all practicing bhakti yoga. And they're all, you know, on the highest platform of yoga.
Yeah.
And I said, so you can't say nobody. Maybe here nobody is a yogi, but these girls are actually, they're yogis.
Yes.
They understand what yoga is all about. Mm-hmm. And then another lady. So, you know, okay, that question worked good. And then another lady said, well, I've been here a long time, and I get along with some people, and some people stay some time, and I get along with them, and other people, they come for a little while, and I don't get along with them. And, you know, there's some people I get along with, and some people I can't stand, and what do you recommend? So then I said, Trinada Pisuni Chena, Daroriva Sahisnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. You have to practice some, you know, humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance. And I said, if you offer respect to others, even if you don't like them, what will you lose?
Yeah.
What do you possibly lose by, you know, giving some honor to others, by acting humbly with them? Well, one thing Gurudev told me, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said, anybody can fake being humble.
Yeah.
Anybody can fake being humble. And anybody can fake offering respect to others. And you say, oh, you're so great. No, you are great. No, you are great. Anybody can fake humility, and anybody can fake offering respect to others. But he said, you can't fake tolerance.
Said and you're either especially tolerating not what is tolerable, but what is intolerable.
Yeah, so he said you're either tolerant or you're not tolerant, but you can't fake tolerance.
Yeah,
you know, and I've seen that with people. If they're not tolerant, or some little thing comes up, and then immediately they raise their hood like a cobra. You know,
yeah.
Like as soon they're acting very humbly and all that, and somebody just steps on them a little bit, and all of a sudden, like a cobra. So, you know, you can't fake being tolerant if you're not tolerant. Now, luckily, I recognize I'm just an intolerant person, so I don't have to worry.
You don't have that problem.
I don't have that problem.
And Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj said, for example, in married life, you have to tolerate so much. Remember, in the beginning, husband, they go, I love you forever, or until you turn 40, you know. No, they don't say it. They say, I love you forever, and everything is all sweet. Then, like 2 years later, they go, I want to kill you. You know. So he said, you're tolerating so much in the married life. He said, but if you enter the association of devotees, and the devotee says one thing wrong to you, they go, I'm leaving, I'm going. They said one thing wrong. So Guru Maharaj said, if you live in an ashram, and you know the word, he said, what is it? Dal and gall. You have to tolerate. Because what it means, dal's the cheapest food, that's what you're going to be served in the... Gopal makes very wonderful dal. But it's very cheap, and he said the other, gall in this sense means the lowest person in the mat, in the temple, is going to be your boss, because you're the new person. So the lowest man there is in charge of you. And you have to tolerate that if you're going to go on in spiritual life.
Does gall mean gullah gullah?
Gullah gullah means curse, to curse someone. Gullah gullah. But gall, it means, you know what it means. It's like abuse. It would be the English term. That kind of thing, where the person above you is, you know, your boss. And they're mercilessly giving you orders. When Gurudev was there, he was very young, and everyone saw that Guru Maharaj likes him so much, like naturally. But they were senior to him. He was only like 17, and they're older, and they're saying, why does he love this 17-year-old boy so much and favor him? So they thought, and then Guru Maharaj is saying, maybe I will leave the world and I'm thinking this boy will be my successor. And they're going, what? We're the senior people. If anyone be your successor, we should be, not him. So they made a conspiracy, like, we're going to make this boy's life miserable, so he'll want to leave. So mango season would come, when there's so many wonderful mangoes. We're talking, every week there's a different one. And each one you think is better than the other one. They have a unique taste. In Thailand, we have like 2, basically. In India, I don't know, 20, 30, 100. They made 100 on one tree, the scientists. Anyway, different ones. So it's an ecstatic time, and it comes like right after it's real hot, and you can't stand it, the rain comes and the mango season comes, and you think, well, life is not so bad. So it makes everything tolerable. So what they're doing in mango season...
What's the one called sagar? What's it?
Hing sagar.
Oh, that's my favorite.
So they start giving Govinda Maharaj the rotten mangoes. They're all eating nice ones. They're giving him spoiled ones, half bad, half, you know. And he can't tolerate that. So he went to one mango tree and took them directly, which we don't do. Everything's given to the deity, but he took them. And so they reported him to Guru Maharaj and said, that boy, Gorindu, he's taking mangoes directly, like big, you know. So Guru Maharaj called him to his room to like chastise him, but he has so much love and affection for him. He said, you know, here in the mat, everything we give the deity. He goes, I know that, but they're giving me rotten mangoes because they want to get rid of me. And Guru Maharaj said, all right, then here's what you do. And under his bed, he lifted up the, he said, actually, the best mangoes I have. And they're all under his bed. And he gave the like super mangoes to Gurudev. Said, so whenever you want mango, you come to me. But Gurudev, this will teach you about his personality, that wasn't enough. So the devotees think, oh, Guru Maharaj is going to chastise him severely. Maybe he'll throw him out of the mat. So he takes these big, juicy, ripe mangoes and goes downstairs, and in front of those people, he's going and enjoying those mangoes. And they're like, ah.
Yeah, he used to do that with us too when he's eating.
All right.
He would eat slowly and we would eat quickly. So
Yeah.
we would...
Except Ashram Maharaj.
Ashram Maharaj often was not even
He's
there.
still eating right now as we're speaking.
Or he'd be, Ashram Maharaj would go feed the cows before he would come.
Yeah.
But then Govinda Maharaj would, you know, we'd already finished and we had the dessert or something, and then Govinda Maharaj said, "Oh, Maharaj, you cannot believe the taste of this." Oh. And he's, "Oh, you cannot believe," we'd already eaten.
Yeah.
And he's going, "You cannot believe the taste of this, Maharaj."
He did that to me once on the veranda in Navadvip. He had this bowl, and Gopal, you might have been there. So he has this bowl, and I'm sitting in the corner. He's eating, but he like looks. He knows when he's got you, you know. So he sees I'm looking, and he has a spoon. And he's going like, and I'm looking at that, and he's like, oh, this and that. And he goes, "Maharaj, you want?" And I'm going, it looks like he's eating ice cream. I'm going like, what is that? Yes, please, you know, give me some. And he told you or Ranajit, like, go get for me. But what it was rice powder, powdered rice with gur and mustard oil. And so I started eating it, and I'm going like, he's going, it's nice, huh? Muri powder, puffed rice powder with gur, it's hard to describe, and mustard oil. And I'm just going like, and like I have to eat this now.
Well, what's funny, Govinda Maharaj was eating Cerelac, you know?
Explain what it is.
Baby food. And he's eating it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, what?
With
Yeah,
muri.
and I'm seeing him eating.
Puffed rice.
And I said, "Maharaj, is that good?" And he said, "Babies cry for it." You know. That's very
Remember
nice.
in SoCal at the Sunday feast, one of these like hippie type people, he says to me, I'm taking questions, and he says, I like believe that we don't even exist. And I said, then I don't have to answer your question. You know, like, if you don't exist, I would be crazy to answer your question. Next question. I remember when this couple comes, one girl and her boyfriend, but they're sitting on opposite sides of the temple. And the guy, he's asking me, what does it mean to join and become a devotee?
Or to live in the temple.
Yeah. And instead of sugarcoating, I just started telling him the truth. Like, it requires some commitment, sacrifice. You have to be, I start giving a list of things, you know, and he's like, going like this, and his girlfriend says loud in front of 150 people, she goes, you can't take it, can you?
That was very good.
And he's like, I mean, she said it out loud.
Yeah, I know who she is. I know who both of them are. I know who she is. Actually, her name is Tulsi, too. So, you've got questions, we've got answers.
Here's another one.
Any question?
Any question. But Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada Saraswati, he's with his disciples. And he can see, they're like 2 or 3. He knows they want to ask a question, but they're not asking. They're like afraid. And he's saying, I think you want to say something, but you're hesitating to say that. And they say, yes. And they say, you know, we've been following this for like 10 years, and we don't feel like we've really got it yet. And we're ashamed to admit this, but we've been here for 10 years doing everything you told, but we don't feel like that we've become Krishna conscious. And that's why we're sorry to say these things to you, but that's how we feel. And he said, oh, I'm so relieved. And they go, what? And he said, I thought if you said after 10 years, you're Krishna conscious, you've got this, then I would be very sad. But that you realize you don't get this, like after 10 years or maybe 10, it's an eternal process and journey, then you're going in the right direction, you're okay. And some devotees came to Guru Maharaj and said, we're also afraid, what? And he said, well, he said, sometimes I can't read the books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad, these books, and I'm sorry to admit. And Guru Maharaj said, then stop reading the Bhagavatam. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. And he said, oh, then you do have some appreciation. Like you say, you can't do all the time, but I said, then don't do it at all. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, so you have something. And I go, oh, thank you. So all these things that have been said, he always has questions. You want to hear a question from him? These are like from the audience, people watching, or
Okay.
Yesterday was one question from Suchitra Prabhu.
Suchitra is the lady,
Oh,
right?
that's my fault probably, because only Suchitra was mentioned.
Suchitra is the name of a gopi.
And so, when ordeals are fallen upon a soul, where to find power to withstand?
What is the question?
When ordeal, you find some ordeals come to you, where do you find the power to withstand that? Like the troubles, the adverse circumstances come. And you mean a devotee, how do you deal with that?
Or how do you deal with adversity?
Yes.
Myself, I'm thinking of what is my service, what service I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just proceed.
That's your focus.
Yeah, that's my focus. I want to be able to offer something to the Lord, I want to be able to offer something to Gurudev. So to speak, don't want to go empty-handed. So I continue. And sometimes one will not be successful. But I remember, there's a story that I remember from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's a strange conclusion, because Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj told me, I am never hopeless, I am always hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam of Pingala. Pingala is a prostitute.
Yes.
And her remark was, she said, utter hopelessness is the greatest happiness.
Yeah.
And the story behind that, she says, she's going somewhere and she's waiting at the steps and she's thinking, she's waiting for a client.
Yeah.
And she's saying, well, this person came to me last week and surely that person will come to me again. Oh, no, he's walking by. And this person's coming and surely this person will, want to engage me. No, but that person's going. And finally, after a whole night of just waiting and waiting, finds out she has no clients and then becomes utterly hopeless and then goes home and has a good night's rest.
She becomes happy, like she's free from that.
So it seems contradictory because we're always saying, I'm always hopeful. But she's saying utter hopelessness, meaning aspiration or the desire to have something happen that's totally mundane.
Yeah.
When that doesn't happen, then I become happy.
Yeah.
Then utter hopelessness of attainment of something completely mundane, that actually leads to hopelessness. So it's not contradictory.
And on the spiritual side, one is hopeful.
Yeah. And
Kabe habe bolo sevi nama.
And it is also said that when Gurudev gives someone an instruction, we may not be able to perceive that. But within the instruction itself is also the formula to have some success.
Yeah.
Now I remember one remark that I believe it was Srila Sridhar Maharaj made about Udamanyu. He said that, sometimes to be able to accomplish something, one has to apparently be going backwards. One goes backwards, and it's comparable to going when you have to jump over
something an obstruction in your path.
Then you have to go back.
You can't cross it at the speed you're going.
You can't just stand there and jump over it.
You have to
go
up.
backwards, and then you come running at the obstacle, and then you jump over it.
Yeah.
So according to a mundane evaluation also, you can see that person is apparently, going backwards. They're not proceeding forward. But it may also be that person is intelligent enough to know what is necessary to get over a particular obstacle and to be able to jump over that obstacle.
Yeah.
So something cannot always be evaluated. What's the question again?
How to overcome adversity, how to deal with it.
Well, that is how the different ways of dealing with adversity.
And Kunti, she says, when everything's going very nicely and smooth, there's a tendency to forget Krishna because everything's going really nice. Why the heavenly planets are not desirable? Because they're enjoying so much. What do they need spiritual life for? But so earthly, human existence is said to be better. But she's saying, so when everything's going nice, I can become forgetful of Krishna and his devotees. She said, but when I'm in adverse circumstance, then my remembrance of Krishna is very intense, and my need to remember his devotees and get some mercy from them is very intense. So she says, so I'm thinking adversity is a good thing, because it makes my meditation more intense. So it's like the world is set up to make you forget Krishna. And we have to learn gradually how to be in the world and remember Krishna. And so when we see, in the Gita, Krishna will say, when you see the sun and the moon, see me, remember me. You taste the water. He's telling you all these different ways that you can convert ordinary living into a type of meditative experience. So when these things come, it's a fact. When we're in trouble, then we're praying to Guru for help and mercy, and we can't stop thinking about Krishna and his devotees. But when things are going nice, we think, oh, not so much. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in a similar thing, says in one of his songs, like Maharaj is saying, he focuses on the seva. But we could say the seva sometimes, we could say there's a burden of responsibility. Like, I have to do this every day, or it's expected that I will do that. And maybe I don't always feel like doing that, or acting responsibly. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, for me, this is joy, that I have the so-called burden of doing something. I'm happy about it. And like Gurudev would say that, as soon as he understood that something was service to Guru Maharaj, he said, I'm eager for that. I want that. It could mean cleaning a toilet and the mat. He did that because he thought, it's Guru Maharaj's. Everything is his, it's divine, and it's seva. And I want that. And on a high level, Guru said, in Puri, Saraswati Thakur was giving a very high talk about Radharani and, Radha Das, all these high things. And while he's lecturing, some devotee comes in, like they used to do with Guru Maharaj, and say, Maharaj, we need to buy 2 kilos of yogurt for breakfast. They'd say it in the middle of a talk. And so they say something like that to Saraswati Thakur. He stops his talk and starts taking care of that. And Guru Maharaj said, he was upset. He said, Prabhupada is talking about such high things. And while he's doing that, they're saying, we need, 2 kilos of yogurt for breakfast. They're like, why are they introducing? And then Saraswati Thakur said that, and this is a word, it's Spanish, Latin, but he said, Radharani, it's the word, major domo, means the lady of the house of Krishna. So she's responsible for all the seva, to make sure, breakfast is on time, the place is clean, the garlands are prepared, that everything, that's her seva, till all of it is hers. And if something comes to you, even a simple thing, it's considered Radha Dasyam, or service to her. So Saraswati Thakur stopped his talk to deal with that trivial matter, like get yogurt for breakfast. He said, that's also service to her, I want that. It's not a burden, it's not an interruption, it's what I want. So that's a more advanced position, to accept responsibility for service. As Guru Maharaj said, we may be taking Krishna Nam, and in his words he said, and we become absent-minded. He said, but if you accept some responsible service, it demands full attention. And what comes to my mind, especially the primary example, is cooking. And cooking, it requires your concentration, right? Maybe you're making 4 things at one time, and this needs some attention, that at different times. So you have to be thinking about it. There's no room for maya or distraction. You have to be totally focused. So we're talking about Zen, Dhyan, meditation. Cooking is a very intense type of meditation because it demands your full attention. Otherwise, Guru Maharaj said, talking about Krishna, like we're attempting to do, that demands that you concentrate to think of what, like Maharaj, they asked the question, he's thinking first. It's making him think deeply and then to come out with the answer. That's also meditation. So, dealing with opposition, and the things that are, we talk about things that are favorable and things that are unfavorable.
And I remember there was a remark made, I don't remember by who, but he said, Krishna never told Arjuna, just lie back, Arjuna, and I'll take care of it.
I got this covered, yeah.
I've got you covered,
Yes, he tells Arjuna, he's saying, you can do this or not do this. Actually, you will do it, but still, I'm not going to interfere. You can do it or not do it, but you'll get the credit. And I want you to have the credit. I'm there in the background. But he's saying, and it's very famous words at the end of the book, because Krishna says all these things, but it's very interesting. In the end, he said, Vimrisheta dasheshena yatejjasi tatakuru. He says, Arjuna, think about what I've said to you, and then decide what you want to do. So, Guru Maharaj said, Krishna, he can force everybody to do what he wants. But he doesn't. That's how kind that is. Like, we're tiny little souls. He's giving us a choice. So he could force us to obey. But this is not, Judeo-Christian thought. Krishna says, think about what I said to you, and then you decide what to do. And then interestingly, Arjuna says, Karishe vachanam tava. What you say, I'm going to do that. And Prabhupada once said, that is the supreme mantra. Like, I'm prepared to do what you say. And back to, what did Guru Maharaj say to Gurudev when he came? Are you prepared to follow me and not your mind?
And basically, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is saying that I'd rather go off into the forest and live by begging than be responsible for the death of all these friends and relatives and
teachers,
loved ones, and etc. And then comes the time of the vision of the universal form. Yeah. And then Arjuna is seeing the soldiers on the opposite side, the Kuru side, and the soldiers on the Pandava side, so many, all of them almost, are all being chewed between the teeth of the universal form.
Almighty Janardana.
and then Krishna more or less says to Arjuna, and he says, if you think by not fighting
that this isn't going to happen,
that any of these soldiers are going to go home, you can forget about it. Nobody's going home again.
Yeah.
And then as we heard the comment, Prabhupada would say, Arjuna was thinking, my Lord is very determined. But before that, he's saying, well, I could just, leave this. I could just renounce this whole battle and just go off into the forest. But Krishna then says that you can see all these people, figuratively, they're all being chewed up in the universal form, the Virat Rupa. That means they're all going to die. Yeah. And nobody's going home. So, you decide what you want to do. So, I mean, what can you say about adversity? I mean, sometimes you can think that adversity is so great. You can really think, oh, I'm really out of my league.
Yeah.
But,
Prabhupada, when he went, he went to America for Krishna consciousness, right? And remember, he went on a boat because he had no money. They gave him free, the lady owned the company. So 30 days on a boat from India to New York. And in the middle of the ocean, remember, he's following his guru's order. In the middle of the ocean, he has 2 heart attacks. So he's like going to die, right? And he has this dream and about the boat. And Krishna is like, boat, and said, his name is Abhay, which means fearless. Krishna says, don't worry, Abhay. I've taken charge of the boat. And the captain of the boat wrote in his diary, the ocean looks like a pond. There are no waves. I've never seen this in 30 or 40 years. And Prabhupada overcomes the heart attack and takes a little bhati chachari, and he starts getting his strength back. But Guru Maharaj said he offered himself on the altar of self-sacrifice to Krishna. He said he had no other desire than to fulfill the order of his guru. But all that considered, still, he gets to America, and then he goes out. For 1 year, he tries to preach Krishna consciousness and sells a few books, has a few programs, a few people come, but no real success. So he goes back to that steamship company to get on the boat to go back to India. So he's looking at the schedule and thinking, I tried the best I could, and I'm not getting a big result, so I did my best, So he's going to go on the next boat back. That's his conclusion. And after he sees when the next boat leaves, he turns around and someone comes up to him, who later becomes a devotee, and goes, are you from India? And probably goes, am I from India? Let me tell you about it. And then he starts preaching to him. He's an English professor from the university. He edits his books. He knows many poets and intellectuals. He introduces, they have programs, and the movement starts to grow and develop. So that's what Krishna is like. Like in the cliffhanger in the movie, it looks like everything's going to be a failure, and then at the last moment, when you've given everything to Krishna, then Krishna gives everything. You've heard of Draupadi, who they try to take her sari, her husband, they gamble her. It's a play, but they gamble her in a gambling match. You shouldn't bet your wife. But they bet their wife and they lose their wife. And in front of all the people, the guys who won their wife they call for her. And she comes and they want to disrobe her, make her naked in front, to humiliate her. And she's there and they start doing, and people are saying, have you no shame in this assembly to do this to this, chaste lady? How can you do? And her husband, because they follow rule, they can't do anything. They're helpless. And they start pulling her sari right, to disrobe her, but it starts getting longer and longer. And then we find out when she was a little girl, Krishna cut his finger once, and she tore her sari and made a bandage for his finger. Right? That's what she did as a little piece of cloth she gave to him to make his finger better. Now Krishna starts supplying cloth, but we're told first she's trying to protect herself. Right? So she's crying out different names of Krishna, and nothing's coming, no help. Then she puts one hand up and no help coming, because she's still trying to protect herself. Then she gives up trying to protect herself and just lifts both hands in complete surrender to Krishna and says, "Hey Gopi Jana Balava," the lover of the gopis. She used these other names, nothing, but she said, "Hey Gopi Jana Balava," who's the lover of the gopis, and gave up trying to protect herself. Then Krishna gave her full protection, and the sari goes on forever, and they can't make her naked. So when you totally surrender, and we're not saying we've done this, but we're repeating what we've heard, then, because we say, well, like Guru Maharaj, he would not sugarcoat it. He'd say, we want to be slaves of Krishna. He'll say, Maharaj, don't use that word, say servant or executive secretary or, something that looks good on a business card. And Guru Maharaj say, no, not only slave of the slave. And we go, oh my God, but then he would say, but if you